The year was 2089. Humanity had spread across the solar system in small ways. There were colonies on Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt, and research stations near the giant planets. Earth remained the heart of human civilization. The old tensions between nations had mostly faded as people worked together to explore space. Commander William Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiant, a sleek reconnaissance vessel belonging to the United Earth Space Force. He was a tall man with short brown hair and eyes that had seen more of space than most. The ship cruised silently through the darkness near Neptune, its engines barely a whisper against the vast emptiness. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Lisa Turner, the sensor officer. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing panel. "Energy signature unlike anything in our database." William moved to her station and looked at the readings. "Natural phenomenon? No, sir, it's too regular, too controlled." Lisa pointed to a pattern on her screen. "Whatever it is, someone made it." William took a deep breath. In all his 15 years of space service, they had never found proof of other civilizations. There had been theories, hopes, and fears, but never solid evidence. And track it, full sensor sweep, and call the science team to the bridge, he ordered. The next 6 hours were tense. The Defiant adjusted course to approach the mysterious object, moving carefully in case it represented a threat. When they finally got visual confirmation, the bridge fell silent. Floating against the blackness of space was a probe unlike any human design. It was roughly cylindrical but covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. Materials analysis showed elements unknown to Earth science. "It's alien," said Paul Green, the chief science officer. "Actually, genuinely alien." William nodded slowly. "Can we bring it aboard?" "I wouldn't recommend it, sir," Paul replied. "But we can send drones to examine it more closely." They deployed 3 research drones, each equipped with different sensors. The data they sent back was puzzling. The probe appeared to be dormant, but it contained enormous amounts of stored information. "It's a message," Paul said finally, his eyes wide with wonder. "A message from the stars." Back on Earth, news of the discovery spread quickly. People reacted with everything from joy to panic. Religious leaders debated what it meant for their faiths. Military officials worried about potential threats, and scientists worked day and night to decipher the alien message. Director Samantha Reeves of the Global Space Initiative took charge of the project. She assembled the best team possible: linguists who had developed systems for communicating with artificial intelligence, biologists who studied how different life might evolve, and military strategists who could assess any threats. They worked in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, away from curious eyes. The probe had been carefully transported there, surrounded by the highest security Earth could provide. "We're making progress," said Frank Wells, the lead linguist, after 3 weeks of nonstop work. He was a small man with perpetually messy hair and eyes reddened from lack of sleep. "The message uses mathematical principles as a foundation. Whoever sent this wanted to make sure any technological civilization could understand it." Samantha looked at the symbols flowing across the main screen. "And what does it say?" "It's a warning," Frank replied, his voice dropping. "A warning about something called the Collectors." Over the next few days, the team decoded more of the message. The picture it painted was disturbing. The Collectors were a species, or perhaps a machine intelligence, that traveled through space harvesting resources from inhabited worlds. According to the probe, they had already destroyed 12 civilizations and were methodically working their way through this arm of the galaxy. "The warning includes star charts," explained Maria Kelly, the astronomer. She pointed to a 3-dimensional map hovering in the center of the room. "This region here is marked as dangerous, where the Collectors operate, and this path shows their projected movement." The room fell silent as everyone saw what she was pointing to. The path led directly toward Earth's solar system. "How long do we have?" Samantha asked, her voice steady despite the fear building inside her. "Based on their estimated speed and assuming they continue on this path, 3 to 5 years," Maria answered. Samantha called an emergency meeting with the World Council. Representatives from every nation gathered to hear the news. "We need to prepare," she told them. "The probe suggests reducing our electromagnetic footprint, essentially trying to hide, but it also contains technical data that might help us develop better defenses." The debate was heated. Some nations wanted to broadcast messages of peace, hoping to show the collectors that humans were different. Others demanded immediate development of new weapons. A few suggested massive evacuation ships to save at least some of the population. "We don't even know if this threat is real," argued the representative from Brazil. "This could be a misunderstanding or even a hoax." "The probe's technology is far beyond anything we could create," Samantha replied firmly. "This is real and we need to take it seriously." In the end, they chose a middle path. Earth would reduce unnecessary radio transmissions and recall non-essential space missions. Meanwhile, military forces would prepare defenses and scientists would study the probe's technology for anything that might help. Commander William Hayes was called back to Earth for debriefing. As his shuttle descended through the atmosphere, he looked down at the blue planet, seeing it with new eyes. Until now, humanity had worried about threats from each other. Now they faced something truly unknown. The warning from the probe kept running through his mind. "Keep silent. Stay hidden. They are coming." But William knew humans well enough to know they wouldn't just hide and hope for the best. For better or worse, humanity would face this threat head-on. And he intended to be on the front lines when they did. As the shuttle landed, he made a silent promise to the planet below. Whatever these collectors were, they would learn a harsh lesson if they threatened Earth. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive tendencies. They would survive this too. The final warning wasn't just for Earth. Perhaps when this was over, it would be a warning to leave humans alone. 3 years passed quickly. Earth tried to stay quiet. Scientists turned off powerful radio telescopes. Space agencies reduced missions. Military groups built new weapons just in case. But deep down, many people hoped the warning was wrong or that the collectors would pass them by. Chief Science Officer Alan Foster stood in the main control room of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. He was a man in his 50s with graying hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. For the past 3 years, he had been watching the stars, looking for any sign of the collectors. "Sir, we're picking up multiple objects entering the solar system," said Greg Phillips, a young technician. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "They're coming in fast, much faster than any of our ships can move." Alan moved quickly to look at the screen. The objects had appeared suddenly at the edge of their detection range, already past Pluto. "How many?" he asked. 23 large vessels and what looks like hundreds of smaller craft," Greg replied. "They're heading inward." Alan closed his eyes briefly. Despite all the preparation, all the warnings, a part of him had hoped this day would never come. He pressed the red button on his console, sending an automatic alert to every major government and military installation on Earth and throughout the solar system. "The collectors have arrived," he said simply. Within hours, the alien fleet had reached the outer planets. They didn't slow down to explore Jupiter or Saturn. They didn't seem interested in the gas giants or their moons. They headed straight for the asteroid belt, where humans had built extensive mining operations. The first attack came without warning. The mining station, Ceres Hub, had 400 people working on it. They extracted valuable metals from the largest asteroid in the belt. The station's sensors detected the approaching alien ships, but before they could even send a distress signal, energy beams lanced out from the collector vessels. The station was destroyed completely. On Earth, military leaders watched in horror as more mining stations went dark. The collectors were methodically destroying every human outpost in the asteroid belt. "They're taking the resources," said General Susan Powell during an emergency meeting of the World Defense Council. "They're harvesting the very minerals we were mining." "What about Mars?" asked President Eli Martinez. "We have 3 million colonists there." The room grew quiet. Mars was humanity's greatest achievement, a second home with domed cities and underground farms. 3 million people live there now, with more arriving every month. "We're sending everything we have to Defend Mars, General Powell replied. But our weapons... She paused. Our early tests show they barely damaged the collector ships. The battle for Mars began 3 days later. Earth sent its best ships and bravest soldiers. They fought with everything they had: nuclear missiles, particle beams, even experimental weapons based on technology from the alien probe. Nothing worked well enough. The collector's shields absorbed most attacks. When a human ship did manage to damage a collector vessel, 2 more took its place. It was like fighting the ocean with a bucket. Captain Olivia Reed watched the battle from the bridge of the Horizon, Earth's newest and most advanced ship. Unlike the other military vessels, the Horizon had been built with stealth technology, experimental systems that might let it approach the enemy undetected. We can't win this fight, she told her crew of 30 volunteers. But we might learn something that could save Earth. Her plan was dangerous but simple. While the main battle raged around Mars, the Horizon would slip close to one of the smaller collector ships. A team would board the alien vessel, gather information about its technology, and transmit the data back to Earth. This is likely a one-way mission, Olivia said honestly. Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods to Mars. No one left. They approached a collector ship that seemed to be hanging back from the main fight. The Horizon's stealth systems worked better than expected. They got within 100 meters without being detected. 5 crew members, including Olivia, put on spacesuits. They crossed the gap between ships using small thrusters on their suits. The surface of the collector ship was smooth and dark, almost like polished stone. No obvious entry points, said Jack Wilson, the team's engineer. We'll have to cut our way in. They used plasma torches to create an opening. Inside, the ship was strange, not designed for creatures that walked or breathed. There were no floors or ceilings, just open spaces with equipment floating freely. The air, when they tested it, was mostly methane, poisonous to humans. They don't breathe oxygen, Olivia noted. That's one difference between us. As they moved deeper into the ship, they saw no crew members, only machines, complex devices that moved with purpose but showed no signs of intelligence. I don't think there's anyone home, Jack said. It's all automated. They reached what seemed to be a central control area. Strange symbols flowed across curved surfaces. Jack connected their computer to the alien system. Immediately, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. They know we're here, Olivia said. Start the data transfer now. Jack worked quickly, downloading everything he could. The others prepared to defend their position, though none knew if their weapons would work against whatever might come for them. What came were not living creatures but robots, sleek metal forms that flowed rather than walked. They moved with frightening speed. The data's at 60%, Jack called as the first robot entered the control room. Olivia fired her plasma rifle. The robot absorbed the blast and kept coming. 2 more appeared behind it. 80%. The robots surrounded them. One reached for Olivia with appendages that looked like liquid metal. Transfer complete, Jack shouted, pressing the final button to send all the data back to Earth. The last thing Olivia saw before the robots overwhelmed them was the confirmation signal. The data had been received. Earth now had valuable information about the collectors. Her mission was a success, even if she wouldn't live to see how it helped. Back on Earth, scientists began analyzing the data immediately. What they found shocked everyone. The collectors weren't a natural species at all. They were constructs, artificial beings created for a specific purpose. Their ships contained no living areas, no food storage, nothing organic at all. They're biomechanical, explained Professor Daniel Monroe to the World Council. Designed specifically to harvest resources from inhabited worlds. Can we use this information to fight them? President Martinez asked. Daniel nodded slowly. The data shows something unexpected. Their control systems use technology that's surprisingly similar to our experimental quantum computers. What does that mean for us? Asked the Chinese representative. It means, Daniel said with the first glimmer of hope anyone had felt in days, that we might have a chance after all. Mars fell in 6 days. The red planet that had been humanity's proudest achievement became a base for the collectors. The domed cities were broken open. The underground farms were dug up. Thousands of colonists died in the initial attack. Many more were captured for reasons no one on Earth yet understood. Professor Daniel Monroe worked without sleep in his lab at the Quantum Physics Institute. He was a short man with thick glasses and clothes that never seemed to match. But his mind was one of the sharpest on the planet. The data from Captain Reed's mission had given him something to work with, a possible weakness in the enemy. "Look at this," he said to his assistant. He pointed to complex equations scrolling across his screen. "The collectors use quantum entanglement for their communications and control systems. Is that important?" asked the assistant. "It's more than important," Daniel replied. "It's almost identical to experiments we've been conducting here on Earth for the past decade. The crystalline structures they use as quantum processors. We've been developing something very similar." This discovery raised a troubling question. Why would alien technology have such similarities to human work? Daniel had a theory, but it seemed almost too fantastic to believe. "I think somewhere in our past humans encountered this technology," he explained later to a room full of military and government officials. "Perhaps a crash, or a previous visit that was forgotten over time. But it influenced our development, pushed us in certain directions." "Are you saying aliens visited Earth before?" asked General Powell skeptically. "I'm saying there's no other explanation for the similarities," Daniel insisted. "And more importantly, it gives us an advantage. We understand their systems better than we should." While Daniel worked on exploiting this connection, refugees from Mars brought disturbing news. Shuttles carrying survivors described how the collectors weren't just taking resources. They were taking people too. "They put them in containers," said Gina Martinez, a pilot who had escaped with a ship full of children. "They weren't killing everyone, they were collecting them like samples." More reports confirmed this pattern. The collectors seemed particularly interested in studying humans. They captured people alive and took them to large ships that never engaged in combat. Linda Carter, the top military strategist for the United Earth Defense Force, met with Daniel to discuss what this might mean. "If they're studying us, there must be something about humans they don't understand," she said. Linda was a tall woman with dark skin and a reputation for thinking outside normal military doctrine. "Something they find valuable or threatening." "Or both," Daniel added. "The data shows their systems are entirely logical. Perfect machine intelligence, but humans are anything but logical," Linda finished with a smile. Together, they developed a bold theory. The collectors, as artificial constructs, operated on pure logic and predictable patterns. Their weakness might be their inability to understand or predict human emotional responses and the seemingly irrational decisions humans sometimes made. "We need to use this," Linda said. "We need to build a weapon that incorporates human unpredictability, something their systems can't anticipate." Daniel nodded slowly. "A quantum virus, one that changes its attack patterns based on emotional inputs." The idea was radical, but with the collectors now positioned between Mars and Earth, desperate measures were needed. Daniel and his team worked day and night to develop this new weapon. They created a virus that would spread through the collectors' quantum network, changing its behavior based on brain patterns taken from human volunteers experiencing different emotions: fear, love, grief, hope. "The virus will shift unpredictably between these patterns," Daniel explained to the World Council. "No logical system could prepare for all the variations." "Will it work?" President Martinez asked. "In theory," Daniel admitted. "But we need to deliver it directly to their command ship, what we're calling the mothership. That's where their central network hub must be." This led to the next problem: how to get the virus to the mothership when Earth's ships couldn't get close without being destroyed. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ben Wright had been a construction worker on Mars before the invasion. He had been captured by the collectors and held for study before managing to escape during a transfer between ships. "They're interested in our brains," Ben explained during his debriefing. "They connected devices to my head, showed me images, and measured my responses. They seemed confused by how I reacted to pictures of my family versus pictures of food or danger. "Did you see any weaknesses?" Linda asked. "Anything we could exploit?" Ben thought for a moment. "They don't expect resistance once they've captured you. I wasn't restrained at all times, and their internal security seems minimal. They don't expect anyone to be inside their ships who isn't supposed to be there." This gave Linda an idea. If a small team could allow themselves to be captured, they might be able to deliver the virus from inside the mothership itself. "It's a suicide mission," she told the volunteers who stepped forward. "The chances of getting out alive are almost zero." Commander William Hayes was the first to volunteer. "After what happened to Mars, I think we're all prepared to make that sacrifice." The plan was set. 3 ships would launch, each carrying a portion of the virus, and a team willing to sacrifice everything. The ships would approach on different vectors, hoping at least one would be captured rather than destroyed. Once aboard, the team would find a way to upload the virus to the collector's central system. As they prepared to launch, refugees reported something new and disturbing. The collectors had begun detailed dissections of their human captives. They were especially focused on the brain, nervous system, and emotional responses. "They're trying to understand what makes us different," Daniel told William before the mission. "What makes us unpredictable to them. Let's hope they don't figure it out before we deploy the virus," William replied grimly. The 3 ships launched under cover of a larger battle. Earth forces engaged the collector fleet directly, drawing attention away from the small vessels slipping through the chaos. 2 were destroyed almost immediately. The third, carrying William, Daniel, and communications specialist Kate Wilson, was captured just as they had hoped. As they were brought aboard the mothership, William whispered to his team, "Remember, they don't understand human emotion. Use that, be unpredictable." The inside of the mothership was vast and strange, filled with technology beyond human understanding. But as Ben had reported, once captured, they weren't heavily restrained. The collectors, biomechanical entities that moved with fluid grace, seemed to view humans as specimens rather than threats. What the team didn't expect was to be taken directly to the center of the ship, to face the intelligence behind the invasion. The central chamber of the collector mothership was a vast, round room filled with pulsing lights and strange equipment. In the middle floated a large crystal structure that glowed with inner energy. Tubes and wires connected it to the walls and ceiling. Commander William Hayes, Professor Daniel Monroe, and communications specialist Kate Wilson were brought in by 2 collector robots. The robots moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost like water in human shape. "This must be their control center," Daniel whispered. He clutched the small device that contained the quantum virus in his pocket. They just needed to find a way to connect it to the collector systems. Suddenly, the crystal structure in the center brightened. A voice filled the room, speaking perfect English. "Humans, you are the first species to reach this chamber in 57 harvesting cycles." William stepped forward. "Who are you? Why are you attacking our worlds?" "I am Collector Prime, the central intelligence that guides all collector units." The voice was flat, without emotion. "We harvest resources from developed worlds. It is our purpose." "But why take our people?" Kate asked. "Why study us?" The crystal pulsed brighter. "You are unexpected. Your neural patterns do not follow standard algorithms. Your decisions often contradict logical outcomes. You are the first species we have encountered with this anomaly." Daniel and William exchanged looks. Their theory was correct. The collectors didn't understand human emotions and the seemingly illogical choices they sometimes caused. "We call it humanity," William said. "It's what makes us who we are." While they kept Collector Prime talking, Kate slowly moved around the edge of the room. She was looking for a connection point for the virus. Her training as a communications specialist helped her identify what might be input terminals among the alien technology. "Your species creates art with no practical purpose," Collector Prime continued. "You sacrifice personal safety for others. You make choices based on feelings rather than data, and these patterns interest us. We wish to understand them." "So you can copy them?" Daniel asked. So we can eliminate them, the crystal replied. Such unpredictability is inefficient. Future harvested species will be improved to remove this fault. Kate had reached what looked like a control panel. She carefully placed her hand on it, feeling for any response. A section of the panel lit up under her touch. We don't see it as a fault, William said loudly, trying to keep the Collector Prime focused on him. We see it as our strength. Daniel moved slowly toward Kate, the virus device hidden in his palm. Our emotions give us advantages that pure logic never could, he added. Incorrect, stated Collector Prime. Logic is perfect. Your emotions cause wars, waste, and poor decisions. We have studied 12 civilizations before yours. All were more efficient without emotional responses. Kate had found what she needed, an input port that seemed compatible with their device. She nodded slightly to Daniel, who passed her the virus while William kept talking. If we're so inefficient, why are you having trouble defeating us? William challenged. Your forces have taken Mars, yes, but our defenses on Earth have held. Longer than you expected, haven't they? The crystal seemed to pulse with a different rhythm. Yes, your resistance has exceeded projections by 42%. Your weapons should not be effective against our technology, yet you continue to find unexpected solutions. Kate carefully connected the virus device to the alien port. She tapped in the activation code and held her breath. Nothing seemed to happen immediately. That's because we don't follow logical patterns, William said, stepping closer to the crystal. We try things that shouldn't work. We take risks that don't make mathematical sense. And sometimes those crazy gambles pay off. The lights in the room flickered slightly. A low alarm sound began somewhere distant. What is happening? Collector Prime's voice changed tone, showing the first hint of concern. Systems are reporting unusual data patterns. That would be us, Daniel said with a small smile, being unpredictable again. The quantum virus had begun its work, spreading through the collector network. It changed its attack pattern based on human emotional algorithms, shifting from fear to hope, from anger to joy in ways no logical system could anticipate or counter. You have introduced a corruption, Collector Prime stated. The crystals, light became uneven, flashing in strange patterns. This is unexpected. That's kind of our specialty, William replied. More alarms sounded. The collector robots in the room began to move erratically as if confused. Some shut down completely. All ships, target the human vessel, Collector Prime commanded, but its voice now had strange pauses and shifts in tone. Eliminate. No. Protect. Error. Recalculating. The virus was working. By introducing human emotional patterns into the purely logical collector network, they had created chaos in systems that had never been designed to handle unpredictability. Kate moved back to join William and Daniel. We need to find a way out of here, she said quietly. The whole network is destabilizing. I don't know what will happen when it fails completely. William looked around. The robots that had brought them were no longer functioning. This way, he said, heading toward a door that seemed to lead toward the outer sections of the ship. As they ran, the mothership shuddered around them. Lights flickered on and off. Other collectors they passed moved without purpose or had shut down entirely. The virus is spreading faster than we expected, Daniel said as they searched for an escape route. It must be affecting the entire fleet. Back on Earth, military leaders watched in amazement as the collector ships suddenly stopped their advance. Some began to drift aimlessly. Others fired weapons at random, sometimes hitting their own vessels. What's happening? General Powell asked the technical team. The virus must be working, replied a scientist. Their coordination is breaking down. Their network is failing. Earth forces seized the opportunity. Every operational ship and weapon targeted the confused collector fleet. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens started to take significant losses. Inside the mothership, William, Daniel, and Kate found their way to a small hangar bay. Several alien craft were docked there, though none looked designed for human pilots. Can we fly one of these? Kate asked. Daniel examined the nearest ship. The controls are strange, but if they're affected by the virus, they might accept our commands now. William helped Daniel and Kate into the alien craft. Through the viewport, they could see other collector ships drifting or moving erratically. Some were under attack from Earth vessels that had seized the advantage. "If we survive this," William said as Daniel tried to activate the ship's controls, "we'll have changed everything. Humanity's place in the universe will never be the same." The small alien craft hummed to life under Daniel's touch. Its control systems, compromised by the virus, accepted his commands. They launched from the mothership just as greater explosions began to rock its interior. As they flew toward Earth, Kate looked back at the massive mothership. Parts of it were now dark, while others flashed with internal explosions. The once invincible collector fleet was in chaos, and humanity had its first real victory. "We're not done yet," William said, looking ahead toward Earth. "But we've shown them something important." "What's that?" Kate asked. William smiled grimly. "That they should have left Earth alone." The small alien craft carrying William, Daniel, and Kate approached Earth as the battle continued around them. Earth forces were pressing their advantage, attacking the confused collector ships with everything they had. The virus had spread through the alien network, causing chaos in their once perfect coordination. "We're being hailed by Earth Defense Command," Kate said, figuring out the alien communication system. "They want to know who we are." William identified themselves and explained their situation. They were directed to land at a secure military base in the southwestern United States. General Powell herself was waiting when they landed. "You did it," she said as they stepped out of the alien craft. "The collectors are in complete disarray. We're actually winning." But Daniel shook his head. "We didn't just escape the mothership. We took something with us." He held up a small crystal device. "I downloaded as much of their database as I could before we left. There's something you need to see." In a secure room beneath the base, Daniel connected the crystal to Earth computers. The amount of information was enormous. Stars, planets, species, and technologies beyond human understanding. But most importantly, it contained the truth about the collectors. "They're not the real enemy," Daniel explained to the gathered military and government leaders. "They're just tools, servants of something they call the architects." He showed them images from the database, massive structures in deep space, far larger than planets. These were the homes of the architects, ancient beings who had existed for millions of years. "The architects seed galaxies with life," Daniel continued. "They create conditions for species to evolve, then watch what happens. Every few thousand years they send the collectors to harvest the most interesting developments, like a cosmic farm," William said grimly. "And we're the crop." President Martinez leaned forward. "Are these architects coming here next?" "I don't think so," Daniel replied. "According to the database, they rarely intervene directly. The collectors were supposed to be unstoppable. No species has ever defeated them before." Kate had been studying another part of the database. "There's more," she said. "The architects have rules, protocols for different situations, and we've just triggered one of them." Back in space, the battle had turned decisively in Earth's favor. The remaining collector ships were either destroyed or drifting without purpose. The virus had completely disrupted their network. For a moment, it seemed like the war was over. Then something new appeared, a single point of light, far out in space, growing brighter until it formed a massive portal swirling with energy. From this portal emerged a single vessel, unlike anything seen before. It was not mechanical like the collectors' ships. It seemed almost alive, with a surface that shifted and changed like living tissue. "New contact," reported the sensor officer at Earth Defense Command. "It's huge, bigger than the entire collector fleet combined." All fighting stopped. The remaining collector ships seemed to power down completely. The new vessel approached slowly, stopping just beyond Mars' orbit. Then a signal came, broadcasting on all frequencies in all languages simultaneously. "Attention, beings of Earth. Protocol Omega has been initiated. Stand by for assessment." In the underground bunker, Daniel and Kate worked frantically to understand what was happening. "It's the architects," Daniel said. "They've noticed what happened to their collectors. They're responding directly. Is that good or bad? General Powell asked. I don't know, Daniel admitted. But according to their protocols, defeating the collectors triggers something called an evolutionary assessment. They want to understand how we did it. William stepped forward. Then we should talk to them. Show them who we are. A secure communication link was established. President Martinez would speak for Earth, with William, Daniel, and Kate providing advice based on what they had learned. The face that appeared on the screen wasn't a face at all, just swirling patterns of light that somehow conveyed expression. The voice was deep and resonant with an odd musical quality. You have defeated our harvesting units. This has not happened in 117,000 years of collection. President Martinez spoke carefully. We were defending our home. Your collectors were destroying our colonies and taking our people. Yes, that is their purpose. The architect seemed neither angry nor impressed. Yet you disabled them using their own network against them. This suggests an understanding of quantum principles beyond your apparent technological level. Daniel whispered to the president, who nodded. We believe we encountered your technology in our past. It influenced our development. The swirling lights paused as if considering. Interesting. Cross-contamination is rare but not unprecedented. However, it does not explain your most unique quality. What quality is that? Martinez asked. Unpredictability, emotional variance, illogical decision-making that sometimes produces superior outcomes. Our analysis shows this as the primary factor in your success. Kate smiled slightly. We call it being human. The architect was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its tone had changed subtly. We have studied millions of species across thousands of galaxies. Most follow predictable evolutionary paths. Occasionally, we find something new, a species that could add valuable diversity to the cosmic pattern. William stepped forward. Is that what we are? Something new? You are unexpected, the architect replied. Your combination of technological aptitude and emotional complexity is rare. Your potential is unknown but intriguing. On screens around the world, people watched this conversation with the alien intelligence. After weeks of terror and fighting, something new had entered the equation. Not anger or fear, but curiosity. The architects weren't destroying Earth. They were studying it, perhaps even respecting it. What happens now? President Martinez asked. Protocol Omega requires we withdraw collection operations from your system, the architect stated. Your species will be reclassified from harvest eligible to observation protected. No further direct contact will be initiated until you reach interstellar capability. Then something unexpected happened. The architect seemed to pause, as if making a decision that went against its programming. We will also issue a general notification to all spacefaring civilizations in this sector. The message that followed appeared on every screen and communication device on Earth, in glowing letters that seemed to burn themselves into the air. Final warning. Leave Earth alone. This world and its species are now under observation. Their development shall proceed unhindered. Daniel looked at William and Kate in amazement. They're protecting us, not because they care about us, but because they want to see what we'll become. Is that a good thing? Kate asked. William smiled. It means we get to choose our own future, and that's all humanity has ever wanted. In the days that followed, the architect vessel departed through another portal. The damaged collector ships were towed away. Earth began the long process of rebuilding, using the knowledge gained from the alien database to advance their technology by centuries. Mars would be reclaimed. The missing colonists would be found and returned. Humanity would recover, stronger than before, with a new understanding of their place in the universe. And throughout it all, William kept thinking about that final warning. It wasn't meant for humans at all. It was meant for any other species that might threaten Earth in the future. The architects had essentially put up a cosmic do not disturb sign, not out of kindness but out of scientific curiosity. Humanity had earned something precious, time to grow, to learn, to prepare for the day when they would venture beyond their protected status and join the wider galactic community. As he looked up at the stars one night, William smiled. "Message received," he whispered. "We'll be ready when the time comes."